Welcome, focused learners, to this explainer. Okay, today we're not just dusting off some abstract, high-minded theory that sounds really beautiful but ultimately changes absolutely nothing about your day-to-day life. No, today we're tuning in to a very specific voice. The man's voice is Aristotle, and what is honestly so striking about his voice is that it doesn't come to us as this distant academic lecturing, it comes through as an urgent, highly practical guide for exactly how you should be living right now. I mean, he was the student of Plato, the teacher of Alexander the Great, and he studied absolutely everything. But underneath all the biology and the politics, the man's voice kept asking one relentlessly practical question. What does it actually mean to live well? To answer that, here is our essential roadmap to unlocking true human flourishing. We're going to explore rethinking happiness and eudaimonia, discovering your true purpose, virtue as a practice skill, finding the golden mean, and finally, the power of daily habits. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Rethinking happiness and eudaimonia. To truly hear the man's voice clearly on this, we've got to first unlearn a fundamentally flawed idea that modern society has totally sold us about what we should be chasing. Think about the stark contrast between these two concepts. On one hand, we have modern happiness. Today, when we say the word happiness, we almost always mean a fleeting feeling, right? A pleasant emotion. It's essentially a sugar rush. It's something that comes and goes, and something you constantly have to chase down. But then on the flip side, we have eudaimonia. This was Aristotle's word, and it is completely different. Eudaimonia is not an emotion at all. It is a lifelong way of living. So what exactly is eudaimonia? Well, it means flourishing by being fully yourself, using your absolute best qualities, and growing into the person you are actually capable of becoming. I really want you to let that sink in for a second. Happiness, in this Aristotelian sense, is a direction. It's not a destination. It's the active, ongoing process of living according to your deepest values and genuinely becoming the absolute best version of yourself. Moving right along, Section 2, Discovering Your True Purpose. Now, to really step into eudaimonia, we have to understand a pretty powerful assertion Aristotle made, which is that every single thing in nature has a distinct, embedded purpose. Think about a tiny acorn for a minute. Its purpose isn't to just sit comfortably on the forest floor, right? It pushes through the heavy dirt. It faces the harsh elements. And why? To reach its fulfilled purpose, the oak tree. A bird's purpose is to fly, a knife's purpose is to cut, and a human being's purpose? Well, it is not to just feel good all the time. It's not to be perfectly comfortable or to avoid all pain. Your purpose is to become what you are actually capable of being. Which brings us to this incredibly direct question. Who could you become if you stopped playing it safe? You know, most people fail to reach their full potential. They fail to become that oak tree, not because they're lazy, but simply because they never actually pause to ask themselves this exact question. Too often, we just choose the easy comfort of the acorn over the struggle of the growth. All right, Section 3, Virtue as a Practiced Skill. So, if our true purpose is to grow into our ultimate capability, how do we actually do it? Well, Aristotle says we do it through virtue, but he completely redefines the word for us. Now, what's really interesting here is that he doesn't see virtue as some restrictive list of moral obligations or things you just aren't allowed to do. He sees virtue as a skill, literally, just like learning to play the piano or learning how to cook a great meal. Facing your fear actively builds courage. Telling the truth when it's hard builds honesty. Staying calm under pressure builds wisdom. You aren't just born courageous. Every single time you face something difficult and you choose not to run away, you are literally building the muscle of courage. Your character is built one deliberate choice at a time. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, Finding the Golden Mean. And this brilliantly illustrates Aristotle's most practical tool for navigating life's complex choices. He believed that every single virtue exists right between two dangerous extremes, a deficiency, meaning too little, and an excess, meaning too much. And right there in the middle, that's the golden mean. Look at courage. It isn't total fearlessness. It sits perfectly in the balance between cowardice and recklessness. Generosity sits right between stinginess and wastefulness. True confidence is the sweet spot between insecurity and arrogance. Honesty rests safely between deception on one side and outright cruelty on the other. You see, the good life isn't about rigid robotic perfection. It's about balanced judgment. It's having the quiet wisdom to read a situation and carefully choose that middle path. But here's the catch. You can't practice this in a vacuum. Read this quote with me. A man who lives alone is either a beast or a god. Man, that is a heavy-hitting statement. What Aristotle meant here is that we are inherently deeply social creatures. Our deepest virtues, like generosity and patience and love, they can only really grow in the soil of human relationships. I mean, you simply cannot practice kindness without someone to be kind to. The people in your life, yes, even the really difficult ones, they aren't distractions from your growth. They are the actual training ground for your virtues. Okay, we are arriving at our final and perhaps most urgent pillar. Section 5, the power of daily habits. This is exactly where the man's voice gets incredibly, almost uncomfortably real about how we utilize the very limited hours of our lives. We all absolutely love to focus on the grand plan, right? The 5-year visions, the massive career shifts, the big dramatic life decisions. But Aristotle argued that your life is not actually defined by those massive leaps. It's defined by the daily hours. Those small, unseen, repeated choices. Whether you decide to read or just scroll, whether you reflect or just react, do you do the hard thing or do you take the easy way out? These quiet, everyday choices are building the person you become with the absolute inevitability of water shaping stone. So the crucial point is this. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. This completely timeless piece of wisdom right here is the absolute core of human flourishing. Excellence isn't something you just do once in some grand public display. It is a quiet, daily habit. And frankly, this sentence is worth repeating to yourself every single morning when you wake up. Because listen to me, if we ignore our habits, we are inviting in a very specific, very sharp kind of pain. Aristotle observed that at the end of life, people rarely regret the things they actually did. They regret the things they didn't do. The tough conversation they avoided, the big risk they never took, the person they deeply wanted to become but just kept postponing for someday. This is the quiet suffering of the unlived life. It is the deep, aching regret of someone who always knew exactly what they were capable of. Someone who saw the oak tree they could become, but just chose the comfort of the acorn instead. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this single, totally provocative question. Look at your daily habits honestly right now. The really small things, the things literally nobody sees but you. Are your habits building the person you want to become? Or are they quietly building someone else? That question, asked honestly and answered bravely, is exactly where your good life begins. So go start building it today.